Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, April 2nd. It is 7 p.m. We've got two cases that we're going to continue right off the start. And before we get going, I should say that we have with us Tim Hagler, Drew Delaney, I'm John Lee, Dave Anderson, Shane Donchamont, Lauren Mikulski from the Zoning Board Administration, and Patrick Deschaines from Community and Economic Development. And in the audience is Board Member Judy Conroy, who has recused herself for this case. Okay, case number 2211. This is for Wall Street Development Corporation, 9 and 15 Pinnacle Drive. The applicant has asked for a continuation of that until May 19th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. Does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Drew.
Second.
Second by Tim. Any further discussion? Okay. That's the 40B case.
Here's the, which one is he with the extension? Is Pinnacle the one with the extension?
With an extension of time
Yeah.
Is it May 30th?
until May 30th. Okay. So that has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of continuing that case, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, next one is case number 25-1, also Wall Street Development. This is for 3 Dupee Street. This is a modification for a previously issued comprehensive permit. And that also, at the request of the applicant, is being extended until May 19th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall, and I don't think we need a continuation of time on that. So, May 19th, 7 p.m., Town Hall. Somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Drew,
Second.
second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, so now, the next case is the case we have for tonight, case number 25-2. This is for 0 Sunset Drive. This is modifications for an existing special permit. This goes back to case number 23-22 in order to allow the removal of an additional 1,148 cubic yards of earth removal for a total of 3,428 cubic yards, in addition to the 2,280 cubic yards that was approved from lots 7, 8, and 9 on Sunset Drive. So, let's see. There is, we have in the file that everybody should have in front of them is the old decision that this board issued back in 2023. And you're back before us because there's some issues out on the site. So, good evening, Mr. O'Connell.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Clerk, Mr. Economic Development. Thank you.
Call me Pat. It's fine.
Thank you for hearing us tonight. I have my client, Anthony Civitz-Reese, and his son, Anthony also, and engineer John Glosser with me. This evening, we're requesting a modification of the special permit, case number 2322, which you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, which I think is dated July 17, 2023, under Section 5DB4 of the zoning bylaw for earth removal for an additional 1,148 cubic yards. This board had granted a special permit back in 2023 for 2,280 cubic yards. So just preliminarily, we've been working with the building inspector. The earth, it was removed by the applicant, and we're here this evening to, again, request that special permit. And we, up front, we apologize for the additional cubic yards that were removed. But I would submit that it's, it was basically another 41 trucks. I don't want to say it was de minimis, but at the same time, we do apologize. We're here to make this matter right. Again, we're working with the building inspector I know that John is working with Concom regarding any land disturbance issues. So as I referenced in my memorandum, the use is allowed as a matter of right. It's a highway business district. And the Civic Teresa's basically have materials, gravel there, as far as, and the materials are loam, mulch. They have equipment supplies. And again, the use does allow outdoor storage. There's empty dumpsters there, landscape and bobcats. There's no gas, diesel, no pesticides, no liquids, no 55-gallon drums. And again, the surface is gravel. As the plans show, the storage area will be contained within the setbacks. And I think, John, you can speak to this if the board wants to hear. Also, with respect to any stormwater mitigation, he had referenced that and incorporated that on his plans. So I can certainly go through the special permit requirements, but it's our hope that the board would respectfully consider amending the special permit decision for those additional cubic yards. The 1,148 cubic yards. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm sure the board has some questions. The lot size is 45,973 square feet. And I think, John, the disturbed area is what, 38,721 square feet. So if the board has any questions, we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got some questions. We have a plan before us dated February 26th of this year, and it shows that there is probably about at least 40 feet of material on the, let's see, that would be on the northeast side of the property. But has that already been removed?
Let me just give you a quick little update, and then I'm sure you'll understand it a little bit better. So just for the record, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is John Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. So the first sheet of the plan set is, even though it's dated, recently, this is the plan that was approved by the board back 2 years ago or so. And as you can see, this was the limit of sort of the level area, and then this was the sloping that was shown on the plan. And that was the 2,200 or whatever it was, cubic yards of material to be removed. So unfortunately, Tony and Tony got Lokes was in there. Lokes is a gravel company. They do a lot of stuff with sand and gravel. And
So let's just be clear. This is not the existing conditions right now. Is that correct?
no, this is the existing conditions, right? So sheet 3 is the existing conditions right now. Okay. And what sheet 3 is showing you is in that shaded area here. That's not the property line. That's the area that now essentially is level, is flat. And that's where the other 1,000 and whatever it says, 1,100, 1,200 cubic yards of material came out. So 28 yards in trailer dump, so 42 extra trucks. So it took about 84 trucks to get out the first sheet that you saw. It took another 42 trucks. So now this is the level area. this is not constructed the way it's shown here, but what this is, so under the regulations of the Conservation Commission agent, under the land disturbance issues, land disturbance regulation, what we need to do is to store 1 inch of water from the disturbed area. This is sand, that's why Lopes was in there grabbing as much as he could, and it's like beach sand. So 1 inch of water, and that will go into the ground, and it's all sort of contoured to go to that area. But this, other than the basin, right, because this basin has to be a little bit bigger than the one that you saw on the original plan. Other than that, this is what it looks like.
That's what it looks like now. Right.
So there was 2,200 allowed, and there was about another 1,100 or so that were taken out without a permit.
Right. So that actually isn't the biggest, that's we can fix that. The problem is now that you have a slope that's 12 feet, you have 12-foot high slope dropping over about 16 feet. And it's right next to the apartment complex. So this is going to require a retaining wall. It's going to and a fence at the top of it. And I don't see either of those on this plan. Do you have a retaining wall on this plan?
Yeah, there is, so, can you see it? It's right here.
Existing concrete
It's only from
block.
here to there.
It's only
He-
small.
But it's not all,
He had started it, Mr. Chairman, and Jim Crowley had gone out, I think that was back in, what, July? Or December or July? December. But Jim had, he had gone out there at the time, was concerned, and then totally stopped. So,
yeah, it's I was over at the preserve and I saw the fence is a wire fence with, staked in metal poles. And this is abutting a apartment, apartment complex goes right up to the wall. And so we're gonna need to see the retaining wall, how it's gonna be built, and on both sides, because I do see the existing concrete block, but those are just dropped in place. And then also a fence on the top that's gonna protect the people from going over that slope. That's a big drop. It's not allowed.
Your request is certainly very reasonable. So, yeah, we'll show that, we'll show specific details of what those will look like. And we'll show you some, so you'll be able to see it a little better, some cross sections of the slope at different places. So you'll be able to see what that looks like and determine whether you think that that's adequate or not.
I think if you design it with a retaining wall and fence at the top, so it's protected, I think, we could see that, that would make sense. Do any other board members have anything that they want to see on this?
I just had a question.
Sure.
I'm trying to go back to when this was before us, and if I remember correctly, it was for storage of empty dumpsters. So now and I'm not anti-business, I'm just asking, because it was for storage of empty dumpsters, and now we have, right on the plan, materials, supplies, equipment, and manufactured products in the storage area. So is this a storage area now, or is it a retail? You've got loam and mulch, and that's the plan, but was that the plan all along? I really thought it was going to be like an enclosed facility there was so much do-re-mi in storing empty dumpsters. So can someone explain that?
So as you know, it is allowed. As a matter
It's
of-
allowed, I understand
Yeah,
that, but it
yeah.
seems like a complete 180 from what they came before us to tell us what they were
I
going
mean,
to do.
The dumpsters are still, that's the primary business, right?
No, I know, I saw them, I just,
Yeah, yeah, and Tony has a landscaping business,
right,
so.
okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same project,
No,
because
yeah.
I envisioned this massive space to be storage of empty dumpsters. Like I see on 495, all of a sudden there's storage of empty and clean outhouses, like there's massive numbers of them with no fencing. So down 495, that's what you see is hundreds of them. So I thought this was going to be just strictly dumpsters. So is it a retail operation now with selling of mulch, or is it just storage for his landscape business?
Just storage.
Okay, all right.
In the words that we put on the plan, we just took that from the zoning. That's
Right.
what's- Right, so
Right.
I mean, it's not necessarily everything that's written there. It's what Attorney O'Connell told you it's going to be, which is the dumpsters, because they have two businesses, landscaping,
Understood.
affordable landscaping, and affordable roll-off. So they
Right.
have two businesses, so one's landscaping, but it's mulch, sands, gravel, things that landscapers use for
Supplies, yeah.
supplies.
Okay, and does
If you
it,
want us to have the plan match what Attorney O'Connell told you, we can do that. I just had the draftsman for the purpose of getting it in front of the board, because Jim Crowley was putting a little pressure on me to get something in front of the board. I just used the words right out of the zoning, but we can specify exactly what it is on the plan.
well, I would like to see that, just because when it's on the plan, we're going to approve a plan at some point, it's a new plan. If it's on the plan, it's what you can do. It's not what we said here that you can do that's not on the plan. Will this require any additional signage? Is there any, I didn't see any.
No signs
No,
there.
I didn't see anything. Are they going to come back and ask for anything signage? So it's going to be a storage,
Yeah, it's just sort of a private storage.
okay.
And these are just concrete pads, is that what these are going to be? The material stockpile area? Or is these?
Are you saying we're showing something? You just-
I think it's just marking
Depends
a
on the
location.
table, the table already.
The last page. No, on the last page, the construction staging area, material stockpile area, that's just,
Yeah.
on the next page, you'll see it.
On the details?
Sheet 4.
Oh, no. So I mean, this plan's probably a little bit moot, but, the current regulations, even of the Conservation Commission, like the current land disturbance regulations, whether it's local, state, or federal, require us to show two things. Construction, a stabilized construction entrance. So, right, how are the trucks gonna get in, and how are they gonna leave without tracking sand and dirt and silt all over the paved roads? I mean, so we show it here, this is not a paved road, it's a dirt road, but it doesn't, the regulations don't say if it's dirt road, you don't have to show it, so that's all that is. And then during construction, right, you have to have a material stockpile area. So if you had some material that you were, like loam here, that you were going to take away, but so you can get to the sand, but then put it back, you stockpile it somewhere. And the same thing with your equipment. You're supposed to show where you're parking your trucks, where you're gonna park your excavator, where you're parking your front end loader. So they're just trying to control stuff so that when they go up to the site, or when somebody's neighbor asks about it, that, stuff's kind of under control. And it's pretty much standard operating procedure. So we just automatically draw that plan.
Okay, and these are not concrete
No,
pads?
no, they're just, so this all sort of goes away. It's called the construction.
I get it, I
It all
understand.
sort of goes away
Yeah.
once this, so it's kind of moot because we're sort of showing you stuff that
It's already
should have
happened.
been there when they were taking the 1,100 cubic
Okay.
yards out. But the 1,100 cubic yards or whatever it is are gone now, so, but we still sort of follow the procedure.
So are there other things that board members want to see? We've got fence and also retaining wall, and how that retaining wall is going to support, because this goes, I don't know, my guess is it goes pretty close to the property line, the excavation that's already taken place.
I just have a question, and I understand construction, but I just, what was the reasoning behind exceeding the original scope once you got out there and started ripping into it? Like, why did you have to go so much further into the, and because obviously this was approved, you go out, you start site work, anything can happen once you actually start digging and getting into it. I'm just curious, not that it's gonna sway me one way or the other, what the reasoning was behind why you had to go so much further into the property line and make it so much bigger.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure, the original area to excavate, whether that was denoted as the major, but again, I think it was just a matter of the additional trucks and that were hauled off, so, yeah, we definitely understand your concerns, but, as far as a specific location and where, I'm not sure that was specified initially, right? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it is on the original approved plan. I'm just, listen, I know that was the dreaded question
Yeah.
that we were all trying to avoid, and I'm not trying to be, I was just curious, like, if there was an actual reason why it had to be so much bigger and deeper and wider than it originally was approved.
From what the Civitarese told me, so Lopes gets in there, he's got this huge front-end loader and trucks coming in, he's putting pressure on them, come on, let's just do the rest of it, let's just finish this up, let's just finish it up. And after a while, they caved to the, let's just finish it up idea, which was not a good idea. They should have called me, and we could have come quickly in front of the board with new plans and got it done, but it didn't happen, so.
Well, it's just always like forgiveness, permission, right? And I know you've already spoke on that, and you led with it, which I can appreciate, right? That's the right thing to do. It's just, but then when you say things like all the beautiful sand that we want to get out of there with our 41 other trucks, which is whatever. I was just curious. I wasn't trying to throw a wrench.
We
I
understand,
think
yeah.
that's the way it happened, you get the contractor in there, and I'm not blaming them, but that's their business. So they get in there and they're like, whoa, why are we stopping here, kind of thing, let's take the rest of this, and put pressure on Tony, and eventually they caved, but it's a big mistake, should have just called me, it wouldn't have taken that long to just, get these plans in front of the board and do it right, but it just didn't happen, so it just didn't happen.
So you'll come back with revised plans showing retaining wall, engineered in, fencing around the top.
And a list of items that are going to be stored on this site. Tony and Tony are going to stick to.
The contractor did.
Not coming
Even though
back.
by right, it is still nice to just see it.
Right.
To your point earlier.
I just have two quick things. Going to Dave's comment on people get a little carried away and start going a little further. I had a conversation with the building inspector. I thought he might be here to address it. This was a year or so ago about another project. When the zoning board, give a special permit, we're basically giving the applicant the special permit. There's no oversight by anyone, this town engineer, that I'm aware of, to count the trucks and to keep a legitimate, keep everything on the up and up. And I find that a problem. There's a couple of things that have happened recently that it's like you really question how much did they go over. I know they have to give an as-built when they're done, but the whole time a project's ongoing, it's like there's no. He had brought something. Crowley had brought something to town meeting several years ago. He said that just didn't fly, but he wanted more oversight attached to our giving a permit. When he issues a building permit, he has an inspection. Unless someone's called and complained about extra sand being taken out of the beach, no one was going to say anything, or if someone finally did say something, or he went up there for whatever reason. But I really think it's a little bit of a loophole for us, because unless you come and ask for your forgiveness, like you're doing, we might not have seen that, and something, this wouldn't have been, corrected and amended. So that's one thing, and that's all I had to say about that. Not on you, but for future of us to think about what we need to do with that section of the bylaw. Is this in any aquifer area? I know
Yeah.
Recharge.
it's a recharge 3, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so are we concerned with anything that's now, so much sand is gone, other than the 1 inch of water, which I'm not an engineer, so I don't really understand what you mean by that. So explain,
No,
John.
Because the standard or the regulation that would apply here would be that they can't take out any material that's within 4 feet of the
Okay.
seasonal high groundwater table.
Okay,
So I went out recently, we were sort of in the high water table season, right? It happens sort of between Thanksgiving and maybe May 1st or so, right? The hydrologic cycle, right? There's no trees, there's no shrubs to soak up the water during the winter, so the water table rises. So we dug down, I think it's on this plan. We dug
Page
2
3.
test pits.
You got page 3?
Page 3. So we dug 2 test pits that were down, each one was down 10 feet, and this is in the level area, this wasn't on the slope. And there's no groundwater, there's no indication of any groundwater, and there was no groundwater at 10 feet. So we know that we're 10 feet above the groundwater.
okay.
So that standard, or that regulation is met. But just to go back to your other point, which is a good point, you might want to consider saying that, you want monthly or quarterly or whatever reports from the design engineer as far as, is the applicant following the special permit and following the approved plan, which would get the building inspector off the hook and get you off the hook and put me on the hook. And, we would come in and we don't give you any BS. We come in and tell you the truth. Yeah, he's following it, or he's not following it, or you better do something, or alert the building inspector, or whatever. So rather than wait until an abutter or somebody complains, that would probably be a way that would, tie any of the applicants up, especially with earth removal. Right? It's
Right.
actually not that uncommon for that to be a condition.
Okay. Thank you,
Talk
John.
about that.
Yep.
Drew? You had some?
I believe it's a licensed site professional. Is that the LSP is the condition to have somebody monitor it?
Someone's looking for contamination.
Right. That wasn't really actually my question. Is there an intention to asphalt this at a later date?
No,
So if we condition that, that's not going to be a problem?
that's not going to be, they have no,
Not that I want to, my question from that is that, does that change your basin calculation if they installed asphalt there?
it would.
Okay?
Right, so, generally, right, so you have to sort of think about, like, what I do for a second. So, what happens, right? You have woods, right? Especially in soil like this, you get very little or no runoff. And then you're gonna take that away and you're gonna make it asphalt, and now you're gonna get
100%.
98% runoff, or whatever it is. So we have to sort of put the stuff in the computer, but it's kind of a little bit of, you kind of tell the computer, well, the mitigation device is going to be so big, because the computer doesn't know until you sort of tell it, right? Do you know what I mean? The computer works like a shower in a bathtub, right?
Right.
The shower's coming down, that's the rain, but there's the drain, but the drain's slightly open, so the water rises up until you shut the shower off, and then it goes down.
So-
But the computer doesn't know the size of that bathtub. We have to tell it. So
Okay.
I'll just finish my story. So when we do that, for soils like this, we use 5 inches of rain, and that usually comes out, or 5 inches of runoff, and that usually comes out about right. So if he paved it, this would be like 5 times bigger. It wouldn't look like that. It would probably be like Coltex or something under the ground, but so it gets a lot bigger, to answer your question. If it was paved. Right now, it's just
It's just gonna go into the ground,
Right, it's gonna go into the ground.
which
So-
is my final question. How you control what's washed out of those dumpsters, even though they're clean?
No, the dumpsters don't get washed. Was that your question?
Yeah.
They don't get washed out there.
Well, the rain, right?
There's nothing in those.
Oh, okay.
They're cleaned before they come there.
They're clean.
I've seen them. I'm not saying I've been in them, but I've looked
Right.
in them. There's nothing in those dumpsters.
Okay.
There's no trash, there's no liquid, there's nothing. They're clean. You bring them somewhere, right? And they bring them to a facility where they're emptied and cleaned, and then they're just stored here. They're just stored in the dumpster. There's nothing in that dumpster.
Okay.
Cleaned out.
Can also be a condition. Okay.
Again, I will make sure that the plan says that, though. I mean, you can make sure your permit says that, but we'll actually add that as part of the list of what they're gonna do, that these are clean dumpsters with no trash, liquid, nothing.
Yep.
Okay. How long is it going to take you to get a revised set of plans showing the retaining wall and fencing?
I would say a week.
Okay. What's our next available?
May 19th?
May 19th? Okay. Okay. So, do you want to continue until May 19th? So at the request of the applicant, does somebody want to make a motion to continue this until May 19th
So moved,
here at Town Hall at 7 PM?
so moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Drew. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Anderson, sorry, I think I called you Mr. Major, so I got my name tags mixed up. I
Don has to
apologize.
remember my name before, yes.
I have to look at you.
I know, what's her name say?
So it's okay. And it's Anderson. It's not a very complicated.
Andrews, you can know it, Andrews. Okay. So, next on our agenda was a discussion of the zoning board rules and zoning board rules and regulations discussion. And this is basically how to, our meetings run, the requirements to appear before a board, how things will go. And I think it's a great thing to have. And when Patrick sent this out over a month ago, I know he and Lauren worked on it. I was like, yeah, this is great. It would also help any new member coming onto the board just to read this and understand, what the zoning board does. Talks about the votes and everything. So I thought it was really good. I did go through it, and there were a few things that just minor edits. Do other people have some edits or things that they found on this?
No, we're good.
Okay, so, I'll tell you, the ones I had were on page, no page number, but section 1.8 on quorum and voting, and go all the way down to the comprehensive permits. So 1.8, and this had to do with the vote. It's just, for comprehensive permits, it says, the last sentence, for any vote failing to receive 4, but then the number 3 is next to it, so that was one. Regular meetings, this is the next page. Regular meetings shall be held at 7 PM on the first Wednesday of each month, and then it talks about I didn't know if we wanted to add in other meetings, or just leave it like that. So I didn't have any correction, I just had a note on that. What do board members think? Should we just leave it at that?
Meaning like some verbiage around our discretion to schedule additional meetings?
On Mondays, because we do have the Monday meetings sometimes. But are those, do we classify those as additional meetings?
So I guess that's really depending on the workload. So right now, hasn't been a lot of applications coming in, so I haven't had to utilize that second meeting. I think that was the intention, is to try to do once a month, but have that second meeting available. If workload picks up, then it would be the third Monday of the month as the second meeting date.
Okay.
Go
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, just leave it there.
No, I mean, if it's something that, if we're gonna create a document that encompasses all that we do, it should encompass all that we do.
Okay.
And even if it, like I said, even if it's just additionally to the discretion of the board, that sometimes we will schedule extra hearings if needed, just to have it in there, so it's not that one thing that's missing that can happen,
Okay.
if we're gonna have a guiding document.
Okay.
Isn't that in there?
So I
With
can add
the,
language to that.
The reason for scheduling a
just to
special meeting
explain it.
outside the board?
Yeah,
that would
just
be
a reference to it, like whether we
Situation
decide to
dependent.
use it or not is at our discretion, but just to have it.
1.11?
Yeah, that's why it's there.
Yeah.
So are you asking whether or not that 1.11 addresses his
I think
concern?
so, but maybe I'm missing.
No,
it.
maybe,
Is that a special meeting versus it being a regular meeting? Is there a difference between a regular meeting and what you're asking for?
So the special meeting language, I think I mentioned before, a lot of this kind of, some of it was taken from a few other towns.
Right.
The special meeting language, I think the intention is to mean that in the event that a regulatory timeframe doesn't work out with a meeting, and maybe you're dealing with a not cooperative applicant, and the board has to schedule a meeting, because I think when I first got here, you guys had like 3 meetings in a week once, because of the 40B schedule. That's kind of the intention of the language of the special meeting.
I think the special meetings is different than what we're talking about.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah. So I just have I'll give this to you, let's just add something in there about our, the Monday meetings.
Yes.
Okay, and so we can do that. Next question I had on the, this is section 2.3, filing and advertising fees. These are all correct, right? These are correct ones, but should we say some, subject to change, or how often do the filing fees get changed?
I'll have to take a look. I think the last time it was updated was 2019,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Yeah, you could add language at the bottom of that. Fees are subject to change periodically. Depending, I don't know how else.
Yeah,
Depending on
right,
board's
but
discretion.
I don't want us to be locked into something, like, say the advertising fee went up, not from us, but from the newspaper. We'd want to be covered on that. So maybe just an asterisk that says, these can be, subject to change.
Yeah.
Okay, and just one typo under section 3, hearings. Oh, actually, I don't think it's a typo, but I want to word it differently. Section 3, hearings, 3.1, the last sentence, no person shall be excluded or removed from the meeting unless they are considered by the chair to be a hindrance to the process of the hearing or a threat to the safety of the public or the board, not and the board, because you could be a threat to one and not the other. So it should be or. Next one, 3.3, order of business, and it's just a typo, first paragraph, last sentence, it says, provided they, so it's,
Yep.
again, I'll give you this copy. Section 4, and I don't know about this. It is repetitive petitions. It says that members of the planning board must agree that the condition has been met. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's reference to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 16. So even if it's a zoning board denial, it has to go to the planning board first to determine whether or not the change is substantial. If they do, it needs a 2/3 majority, and then the applicant still has to go back to the zoning board, so.
So, and then the last one, so, in here, it says that we have to update these, it's section 5.1, amendments to the board and rules and regulations. It says that if, it says the board shall review the rules and regulations at a public hearing every July unless another date is voted upon, but then it goes further. Notification of this hearing will be consistent with advertisement of public hearings and a copy of the amended rules, blah, blah, blah. To be consistent with advertising of public hearings, would we have to have that as in the local newspaper?
Yeah, so that was, when it comes to rules and regs, I mean, it's your discretion, and I think I took the language from Mansfield. They have it as a more formal process, as a public hearing, try to advertise it. If you wanted to have it more as just kind of a board business item, you're still within your right to do that as well. I just took the language from another town.
Right. And I think we should, that one I think we should keep as just basically board business. It would be on the agenda. We can even say that it would be on the agenda, but I'm not sure we need to publicly advertise that.
Okay.
How do other board members feel about that? Do you want it publicly advertised or just on the agenda, which is publicly posted? Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the agenda, I feel like the agenda is sufficient. I mean, newspapers aren't always the most broadcasting of sorts sometimes, so.
Agreed.
Yeah, okay.
And at any moment, if someone wants a copy of it, they can request.
Oh, yeah. I expect this will be posted we'll post this online, so.
Yeah, so everything is, it has to be recorded with the clerk, too, just because she's the keeper of the record, so that language would be kind of still consistent. I could try to keep that in there, but at July, highlighted, I don't know if you want July, I was just throwing out a random month, but
Could be March.
March. I like
Well,
it.
April, actually, it's April, sorry.
Yeah,
doesn't
Yeah.
Well, are we gonna do it again in July?
Yeah, and then the other thing is,
Yeah.
I'm thinking down the road, somebody will just have to remember every year to put it on, put it on the agenda, but I think it's a great document, and I think it's gonna help the board function better.
Yeah, I just want to go back to that page, I don't have that page.
Anybody have anything else?
Yeah? Nope, good review.
I had a couple things, and I
Yeah.
think Drew did. Under 2.6, department comments.
Yep.
It does mention any comments received will be provided to the applicant, added to the case record, and acknowledged during the public hearing. It doesn't seem consistent with the, I lost it, like the meeting procedure. At some point, I think it should say that the comments have been read and noted.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, so this is,
To be consistent with this section, and then board procedure or meeting procedure, it says they'll be read, but to say that they'll be acknowledged, I think is a little weak, 'cause under department comments. And also,
Well, no. And acknowledged means we can say that we received somebody's letter. Read, do we want to read something into the record, somebody's letter?
I do, I always would like to see that. I know it doesn't get done, but
No, and-
to me, if it's, you
And the
know,
reason is because we have had these lengthy tomes that, and, there's no reason to read them into the record. They can be submitted, particularly nowadays, they're all available online, you can read it. But to read, I always read the department comments because they
Right.
tend to be
well,
short.
that's what
But-
I'm referring to the department comments.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
the
department comment section.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not to say you just acknowledge that we got comments from the fire department. Somewhere else it has to say, or it should say here, that those comments have been read to the board. My concern has always been, since before I was even on this board, is the audience has no idea. If they're out there in TV land watching, they have no idea what we're talking about. You can say, oh, I got a comment from the fire department. Maybe the resident has a concern with what the comment might be. It could be in full agreement with the project. Water's gonna be looped, extra fire hydrant. That's all well and good, but no one ever knows. It's sort of like a hidden, we know because we see the letter. But to me, it seems to be that it should be, you can highlight it, you can,
Yeah, for department comments, yes, I have, and we do read those into the record. I think we always read those.
I get
in.
what you're saying. So this section for department comments, change acknowledged to read into record. This.
yeah, just so
2.6. Yeah.
they match.
But then the public comments, I think I have that in a different section under 3.4, so that's the public hearing, I guess, section. It referenced mostly just when people speak at the meeting, but it could also include something in there for written comments, and written comments, I guess depending on length, can be acknowledged. I'm not sure how we want to word
They
that.
should always be acknowledged.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, we always, just written comments will be acknowledged.
Okay.
But at the same time, I guess, as the chair, or whoever sits as the chair, could also have read the written comment from the public and give a broad brush of what they were concerned with. They might be, if the bottom line is they approve it, they're in favor of something, then I think it should be stated. If they're against it for 1, 2, 3, but it took them 5 pages to write it, somebody should be able to go through that and say, that person, and I wish they would come, maybe they can't come sometimes, but I
But
just.
also, any public comments those would be in the file on the computer. So
Right.
if somebody looks at it, they would see that one of the neighbors wrote one paragraph why they supported the project, or somebody wrote 7 pages why they're opposed to it. But that's on there.
But, and I also have another comment. Do
Sorry.
you want to go before?
No,
me?
no.
I'm on a roll.
You're good. You're good.
I do have a question on the 1.12 conflict of interests paragraph. I like a little more, from my personal experience, this is not how it happens. So maybe I could sit down with Patrick and we could
Yeah.
discuss what happened to me.
Well, that's why I'm adding it. This isn't almost, I guess not all this is reflected in terms of how we're doing it, but maybe it's a recommendation for how we should do it too, so that.
Right, because I mean, if you're gonna talk about conflict of interest, you mentioned the law, but there's a lot of generalization here that I see that isn't part of the Mass General Law. You know, where it says, well, this should not be a substitute for proper legal counsel. That may be in there somewhere, but if you're gonna talk about Mass General Law, you're either gonna repeat the whole Mass General Law.
This is just referencing where you can call
Referencing
the
it.
lawyer of the day. So that's the whole thing we mentioned in terms of conflict of interest. If you have a question, the State Ethics Commission, I think that's their acronym, but they have both an email option as
Oh,
well as just
I'm
a.
aware.
Yeah, so
I
that's
just wanna
where-
make sure that, for me, though, these weren't necessarily the steps I was advised to take in my particular case. So, can we just sit down and figure out what it should be?
Yeah, I mean, what would you like?
Well, I don't have it in my
Okay.
head right now, or I'd like to spend a little more time
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Typically, though, in terms of like just deferring to that lawyer of the day, that's always if it's a question of, if it's not a clear, if a board member doesn't have a clear, it's like if you're in a butter to it, or if you have a relation to the person, but you have that option through the State Ethics Commission if it's kind of like a gray area, where if you're kind of unsure of like, do I actually have a conflict of interest? And that's why I think that language is included, just to kind of say, hey, this is a thing that everyone in the state, essentially Massachusetts, has an option to go to, is to reach out to the State Ethics Commission to get an opinion from a lawyer.
Now, did you see this in the Mansfield? Because I've looked at
Yeah.
others, and they don't have language like this in their rules and regs.
That's probably from Mansfield, yeah. But we can change it, though. We can
Okay.
take a look at
Right,
it.
'cause I mean, I'd like to
Yeah.
look at that a little
Yeah.
more.
Did you have something, sir?
More just a comment, but I don't, I think there was apologize, the page number. It was regarding withdrawal procedure. And just in the past few years, I've noticed a handful of times when applicants who are unfamiliar with that procedure come in front of us. And I guess I was just thinking if there was a need or thoughts on putting some sort of comment as prior to a vote being taken, or I don't know, maybe it does make sense, but just the board should explain to the applicant that this is a procedure before the vote is taken. I don't know
No, I mean,
if that conflicts with, influencing any application or anything, but
No, I think that would
I
serve.
think there's been a couple times where people have come in front of us and not known that that was even a policy, and usually we catch it and explain it, but
yeah, almost like taking a straw vote before actually having the vote.
Yeah,
If it
that
seems
almost-
like, yeah.
Needs like in order to have that make sense to someone, it's almost, they need that temperature check first. Right, like, because no one would know to withdraw our case till we do what we've
Deny
done
it.
in the past, when we're kind of like, how do we feel about this? So I don't know if we want to reference that, maybe yes, but that would, I think, need to be also included in that part of explaining the need for a withdrawal or the process of withdrawal, is like, because you wouldn't know if you're going to withdraw or not until that moment.
So can you look at adding some wording for
Yeah.
the, basically, just putting it in here, giving people a heads up that if they withdraw, they can come back. If they don't withdraw
Yeah.
and it gets voted down, it's 2 years before they can come back with the same project.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's a good catch, I agree.
John?
Yeah.
I think to go along with that, I think a lot of towns have websites, and they have frequently asked questions, and many of them echo almost like, well, what do I do to go before the zoning board? That frequently asked. Do I need a lawyer? Can I withdraw? These are like questions that could be, they don't necessarily have to be part of our rules and regs, because we know what should happen. Maybe we need a little tweak to say, don't forget to tell the applicant they can withdraw. But I think for the education of the applicant, we are seeing a lot of people coming in without lawyers, more often than I thought we'd ever would see. You don't, and I've always believed you don't need a lawyer. But if the applicant is General Mr. and Mrs. Jones and they don't know, we've seen that, like the deer in the headlights. Oh, whoa, what do I do now? If they had a chance to look these things up, like, well, yeah, what if things are going south, and what do I do? That could be on a website question, frequently asked questions. Where do I get an application? How do I start it? What's going to happen when I get to the meeting? Something like that. So, I mean, and they're very well thought out answers, on most of the websites, so it kind of.
So almost like a section on the board's website, kind of separate from this.
Yeah, that's
where we
separate.
do have-
Separate from this, but just talking about the withdrawal, a lot of people don't know.
Sounds like you're asking to create like a layperson's guide to working with the zoning board of appeals.
No, that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
I think that
Separate.
makes
We can
total
do
sense
that.
to do that.
Yeah, separate from,
Yeah.
Permits
actually
for
separate
dummies.
from policy, actually separate from policy, though.
Right, separate
Oh,
from.
yeah.
Oh, no, I understand separate from the policy, because we're talking about withdrawals, but Drew has said, it's come up.
This is more of a formal thing. Obviously, Mass General Law is the law, but I
Right.
think what G's
Right.
talking about, if someone's coming in, they're just trying to get a special permit for an addition to their home, and
Yeah, how to.
They have no idea.
give me the short answer.
Yeah.
Not this.
Often what people tell me to do. Don't.
Yeah, but this is helpful for board members
You
and
can actually make it,
everybody, so.
For sure.
you can actually make it a part of the application.
Do an FAQ.
Okay, anybody have anything else? So we got a few edits and stuff. I'll give you my copy. And if you want to work, Judy, on that
Yeah,
one
I'll-
with the conflict of interest, just,
Yeah,
within
absolutely.
whatever the state requirements are for it, that's what we go with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll work on
We
that
don't need to
FAQ.
vote on this because we're going to have some edits, but I think it's off to a good start.
Yeah, I can revise it. We can bring it for May. There's no rush.
I think I'm the newest member of the board, and I found it helpful, so,
I thought it was,
super helpful.
I'm the oldest member of the board, and I found it helpful, so.
4 years and I love it.
Yeah, so it's good, yeah. Okay,
You mean age in real time or
No.
being on the board? Because I think I'm older than you, John.
so, but as far as years on the board, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything else for the board tonight? Okay,
Oh, I do.
yes.
Real quick. The
Oh, we have minutes.
the lawsuit, I got a big packet.
Which one?
Which one?
County Street?
Yes.
I have not heard anything.
I got a
yet.
big packet that says, since no one showed up,
Yeah.
they're going, this is my individual lawsuit. How are we doing with that?
Have you got anything new since the last time?
Last week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
April 2nd.
Yeah, something came in. They're looking for a summary judgment.
I'll ask because I didn't get anything.
I just want to know. I mean, it's
No, absolutely. Yeah, I
fills my
wasn't aware.
mailbox. I mean,
Yes.
It's like 4,000 pages.
You didn't get a copy of it?
I didn't get a
Okay,
copy, yeah.
I'll
We'll
bring you
talk
the
to-
copy, yeah.
I have one-
It's,
I have one for
it's
you, too.
asking for summary judgment.
So I have one for you, too.
Oh, thanks.
Well, that's what I thought, but I mean, it's not a secret, so I just was
Yeah,
like, well,
no.
No, it's
the way it read, it's like, since no one has showed up. That was the first page. There's been no
okay.
representation. Read it again, John.
I'll
But
I'll
the-
find that out because I'm surprised we didn't.
That's
get
normally how it
anything
goes.
to us.
They,
I know.
they ask for a summary judgment, so. Town council has been working on that, I know.
Yeah, they were on the thing. But, okay.
I'll find out. Yeah.
We also have the minutes from March 5th, and I sent you
Yep, I have yours.
two tiny revisions, and anybody have anything else on those?
Look good to me.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to accept the minutes of March 5th?
So moved.
Moved by Dave. Second by Drew. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
One, I
Judy wasn't
abstained.
there.
Sorry.
Okay. And does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Dave. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Okay, good night.